Hello, hello. My name is Paula Hoss, and you are listening to the Dirty Podcast. I have today with me my dear friend, Dominique Andreoli. Hello.
Hi, Paula.
How
So
are you?
good to be
It's,
on today.
I am so glad to have you. Okay, I need to read it because you are a woman of a lot of accolades. So much. You are an expert in all things hormones, which has personally been a massive journey for me. So I'm so interested to hear more. If you are a woman who has struggled with menstrual issues, low libido, weight gain, depression, anxiety, the list could go on. Dominique is the expert for you. So I want you to keep listening. Dominique holds a Master of Science in Functional Nutrition with a focus in hormones. You are a certified prenatal and postnatal women's health coach, an NASM certified personal trainer, and the founder of the Hormone Healing Podcast, which I personally love. I love it, which is a top 3% globally ranked podcast in health and wellness. Other titles that you go by are Mom, Army Wife, which is how we connected. You are such a tender person in my heart during this season. You have been a sister to me, in the military life, and a sister in Christ. Tell me about yourself.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for that introduction and right back at you. You have been a saving grace in this time. I don't know how many times Nick will be like, "How are you feeling?" And I'll be like, "I'm okay, but I talked to Paula, so I'm feeling better."
Yeah. So to let our listeners know, hold on one second. To let our listeners know, our husbands, we can't share too much, but our husbands are technically deployed together. So Dominique and I are walking through the same exact thing right now in terms of our husbands being deployed overseas for about a year.
Yeah. So it's been rough, especially since both of us have children.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like I said, having a fellow sister in Christ who is also a fellow business owner, who also is a fellow mom of two girls. Her girls are a little older than mine, but still, it's just been a great, great blessing to have you here.
Yeah.
So so thank you so much for having me on. I think your original question was, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, how old are your girls?
Yes. So I have one girl, Amalia. We call her Emma. She is just about 5, and she is extremely emotionally mature for her age. So some of the things that she has come out with just while Nick has been away has blown me away. And then we have another one. Her name is Isabella. We call her Bella or Bells. And she is going to be 2 this summer. So yes, we live in a small little town. Love all things farming and planting and gardening and cooking and baking, and you could call me a little bit crunchy.
Have you heard the term
But
scrunchy?
crunchy.
No, but have you heard the term
Oh,
scrunchy?
yes. A little bit crunchy.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm scrunchy. Because I still have my doctor, and sometimes I still go to. I don't even care. So I'm a little bit dairy free, but I still go and have an ice cream sometimes because you know what? It's summer and I want to enjoy life too. So scrunchy is a good way to put it. My husband and I have been together for almost 10 years now. And yes, I originally, actually, believe it or not, I originally worked in special education. And this year I'm also, along with my business, working special education still because the school needed a teacher. And again, I have this soft spot that I can't leave the kids, the kids alone when they need someone. So I've taken on an emergency special education teacher, but my true passion lies here in health and wellness and helping women and helping people just feel better about their bodies and realize that it's the little things that you can do that really help to make a difference.
Yeah. What led you? Because you have your bachelor's in theology, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got your bachelor's in theology, and then you made a pivot to getting your Master of Science in Functional Nutrition. What happened in your life that made you, because that's a pretty big change. What happened in your
Complete
life?
180.
Right, exactly. That made you find that interest.
Yeah, absolutely. So while I say a complete 180, most people on the outside looking in would say, yeah, that's a complete 180, going from a theology, wanting to be a youth minister, actually working as a youth minister for a couple of years, and completely switching to what I'm doing now. But in my eyes, it's actually not a complete 180. And the reason I say that is because when you think about different things. You think about God, like, so at the beginning in the Bible in Genesis, it says, fill the earth and subdue it, right? And filling the earth and subduing it literally means taking the earth and making it productive, i.e., better. Better for people, better for animals, better for the environment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I feel called to do. So being here, I'm not completely taking a 180. I mean, in some ways, yes, I am, but in other ways, I'm not. And I remember when I was going through and I had my theology degree, there were a few people who were majors with me in theology who actually told me, oh, wow, you're going over to the dark side.
Oh,
Exactly. And I said, excuse me. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. And I thought about it for a while. And then I thought, you know what? Why am I letting people get to me
did they think
this
that
way?
like you were going over to medicine was like dishonoring God? That like science was not
Mhm.
honoring what he does?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. And I just thought, you know what? I think this needs to be explained that our bodies are temples of
Right.
the living God,
Mhm.
right? And we're here and God wants us to love ourselves. God wants us to take our bodies and, the same way you would with a church, you honor it, you respect it. Well, if we have the Holy Spirit living within it, then we need to honor it. We need to respect it. And God has called us to do that. We
Yeah.
each are called to do different things on this earth. We each are called to fill the earth and subdue it. And we are people of very many talents, and we're not God. So we don't all have these talents. So you need a person who has one talent to work with a person who has another talent, who has a person to work with another talent, so that we can all come together and fill and subdue the earth.
Yeah.
So that's I guess where I say I really took that change, that 180 degree. But what really sparked it? So I have always been into health and wellness. Right. In college, this is a story I don't always share. I actually don't even know if I've shared it on my own podcast,
Ooh, we
believe it
got
or
the
not. Yes.
insights.
You're going to get the juicy, the dirty, as you like to call
There it
it.
is.
um, so when I was in college, I was actually diagnosed. I've always been into running. I was on the track and field team in college. And I was actually running on the treadmill one day with one of my best friends who's actually a medical doctor in San Antonio. So that's why I say I'm scrunchy, because I still love my doctors. And I basically blacked out. And long story short, without going into every detail, I was in the hospital for a week and diagnosed with a congenital heart disease.
Oh,
I've
really?
had,
I had
yes.
no
So
idea.
I
Okay.
don't usually share
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
So I've actually had 3 heart surgeries. Yes, all
Oh
while I
my
was in
gosh,
college.
Dominique.
Yeah, something I don't share because I don't usually like to have people think like, "Oh, we feel so bad for you," or things like that,
No.
or look at me a different way,
Yeah.
or things like that. So I had that, and the condition that I was diagnosed with was actually a condition that most people, if you went back years ago, thank God for medicine, right? Thank God for medicine.
Yeah.
Because if you had gone back 50 years ago, the lifespan for somebody who was diagnosed with one of my congenital heart diseases was usually no more than 16 to 18 years old.
Wow. So without
And
that
most
surgery, you would have
without the
probably
surgeries.
not been able to live. Exactly.
Exactly.
Like, how can you argue that there's no God in medicine when
Hmm.
God literally through medicine is extending your life and allowing you to minister to more people, like, and to spread his message? Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Like 100%. So long story short, again, I'm kind of skipping over a lot of
no,
details because
this is great.
the main purpose is not like my health condition, but the main purpose is to tell you how I got to what I
Yeah.
got to. So long story short, again, I was told by the doctors. I remember getting a phone call when I was in high school, and not high school, college, early years of college,
Mhm.
freshman year of college. And it was my doctor, and I was at home. It was summer break. And the doctor said, "You've been diagnosed officially. The studies have come back." I'd had, I think, one or two heart surgeries at that point. And they said, "You know what? You actually have Epstein's anomaly, and you need to cease working out and running completely."
Oh, wow.
And I was devastated.
So
And
because your heart couldn't handle it, like they were basically
they were afraid. Yeah. So
yeah.
they wanted me to go to Boston because at the time, like I said, this all occurred when I was at college. So I was just going to the local hospital
Yeah.
in New Hampshire. And they wanted me to transfer over to a unit in Boston, which specializes in this kind of a congenital heart disease. Um, so anyway, so they said just cease all exercise and working out until you've met with the doctors in Boston. I remember I saw my mom and she just looked at me and she saw me and she didn't know what was going on. And I just crumbled. I
Yeah.
completely crumbled. And she held me. And I remember thinking, though, like, I could have been mad at God.
Yeah.
I easily could have been so mad at God. And I remember saying, you know what? Thank you, God, for all of the good years I had to work out in high school and get records in track and make it to states and all these things that I could have not done. And I thanked him for that. And I remember, though, of course, as a human, you don't always have these moments where you're happy with God.
Yeah.
So, days pass and now I'm angry at God.
And he can handle,
And
I always say he can
yep.
handle our anger, you know?
And I think you guys could judge me all you want. It's totally fine. I'm pretty sure I was swearing at God in my head.
I've never
Like,
done that.
um, and then like I thought to myself, okay, you know what? I gave it to God and I said, you know what? Even if I can't run, even if I can't work, this is my outlet. Even if I can't do that, I'm going to give it all to you.
Yeah.
And it was like right before one of my heart surgeries. I'm just going to give it all to you. And I'm still going to praise you through the storm.
Hmm.
And I went in to that heart surgery and I swear I had a taste of heaven. I'm not going to go that far into it, but I swear I had a
Really?
taste of heaven.
Wait, I want to hear about
And
this. Everyone, because
um,
I'm sure there are people that are listening to this that are believers, but there's people who don't have a relationship with Christ, who wonder what happens, right?
mhm.
I want to hear about that.
So to touch very basic on it again, I usually never share this. I can't even believe I'm sharing this right now on here. So very basic. I was in the surgical room, operating room, and I remember feeling like I heard the doctors around me say I could see them above me during the heart surgery, and all of a sudden I heard them say, "She's coming out of it. She's coming out of it. Give her more blank, blank, blank."
Okay. Yeah.
And next thing I knew, don't remember anything.
Yeah.
But then I was in like all white and gold and colors, and I can't tell you exactly how it was. It was just white and gold,
Yeah.
white and gold. I don't even know. And Jesus was right there, and I was kneeling at his lap, and he was saying things to me, which I'm not going to go into.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Is it my time? Can you go show me the rest of heaven?" And he looked over,
What?
and I could kind of see it way, way over there, but like not really see it, like curtained almost. And he said, "No, now's not your time." And I woke up.
I'm getting full body chills. Oh my gosh. And
So
so to our listeners, what's really impactful about what Dominique just shared is that is very biblically sound. Like what she is explaining is in the book of Revelation, how it describes like the throne room of God. It's those bright, it's like not only white and gold, but they describe like these colors based on all of these like gems that are surrounding it, like this almost these prisms of colors of like the brightest colors you've ever seen.
Mhm, mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. So long story short, so that was really a wake up call for me. That like I said, I always kind of been in health and wellness, but that really got me to say, okay, you know what? I want to get married. I knew Nick by this point. I didn't know I was going to get married to him, but I knew I wanted to have a family and kids, et cetera, et cetera. So it was kind of a wake up call to say, okay, let's start focusing on your health. And they basically told me after that surgery that I could start working out again as long as I was careful.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm full pedal to the metal. This is how many years later,
Right.
working out all the time. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to work out, but I completely turned my health around.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually focus on the hormone piece yet. So to focus into the hormone piece, again, fast forward. Now I'm post college. Nick asked me to marry him. We got married, engaged, da 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 da. We waited a couple years to have kids. And I always dreamed of being a mom, loved it, dreamed of being a mom, was so excited. And I want to make sure that I really highlight this part for the next part that I'm about to go into. I had always dreamed about being a mom. I dreamed of Nick and I starting our family together. I had this passion to be a mom. I felt like I was called to be it. And I got pregnant. It was planned. And after I had Emma, who is my dear, sweet, sweet, sweet girl, I love her so much, I struggled with debilitating postpartum depression.
Okay. What did that feel like?
Honestly, it was some of the darkest days of my life. I knew God was there, but I didn't really feel like God was there. I didn't want to get out of bed. I was crying. It was not good. It didn't help that Nick entered the military during that time and was away for 8 months for training.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
I had thoughts of taking my life.
Yeah.
Um, and it was when I started talking about how I didn't want to ever get up, and I felt like the worst mother in the world.
Yeah.
I felt like, where is that glow that we're all supposed to have? I dreamed of this, and I didn't know what the heck was going on with me. Um, and it was awful. It
Yeah.
was completely awful. So for all of those women who are out there struggling, and the worst part of it was I started blaming myself.
Yeah.
I started thinking like, well, maybe if I was just better at this, or maybe if I was just better at that, or maybe I'm an awful mom, or the anxiety was there, and everybody's supposed to be saying that I am supposed to be loving this baby, and I don't feel a bond with this baby. Which, side note, Emma is my world now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was hard. It was so darn hard. And finally, Nick told me, just go talk to some people. So I actually got counselors and got a counselor and started talking about it, and we worked through it.
Yeah.
But I knew, being somebody who always was in health and wellness, at this point, I had already gotten my personal training certification. I knew that I wanted to change things around. And I started doing research. Me being the type A person that I am, I started doing all kinds of research. And I didn't just go online and Google basic stuff. I went to the real dig deep. Let's get to the real dirty here. And I started finding government research articles, peer-reviewed articles, and realized that, what, I want to get my degree in this. Like,
Wow.
I want to have another kid, and I do not want to struggle with postpartum depression again. I had also had a period of my life where I didn't have my period. I was underweight, and I didn't have my period for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And I told myself, I want to get pregnant again, and I don't want to struggle with postpartum depression again, and I want to lose this baby weight, and I want to have a regular period. And you know what? My doctors wanted to put me on birth control to help even it all out. And I said, no, I'm not getting on birth control because I had done enough research on it. So anyways, long story short, I went back, I got my degree in nutrition, I got my focus in hormone health. I know that behind every problem, there is a solution.
Yeah.
You just have to find it.
Yeah.
And that's where I found it. And so I started implementing these principles that I learned and researched on myself. Found that I had a regular period. Then I started implementing them on my sister, and then I started implementing. Other people started coming to me and asking me just random questions. And then Nick was like, you really should start doing this as a formal coaching. You have your degrees, you have all of this stuff. It's not like you're just some average schmo who's just a mom. And in your head, you have to get past that. Oh yeah, I can do this. So I started doing that. We were ready to have another baby. This was Isabella now. Isabella came around, and I implemented everything that I taught everybody and everything that I learned. And I was so scared, Paula, that I was going to go through postpartum depression.
Oh yeah,
again.
because
scared.
You're like, I've got this. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
But then what if? What if I go there again?
Exactly. And it's such a dark place that you really don't want to go to again. If you've ever been somebody who's struggled with depression or anxiety before, you know exactly how it feels. And you know that there's just this feeling that can't be put into words and that can't be explained. So long story short, I am so thrilled to say I had Isabella, and I had one of the smoothest recoveries you could possibly have.
Wow.
There was no depression. I healed so fast. I had a C-section, unfortunately, with Isabella because she was head up, breech. And no matter how many times they tried to turn her, she wouldn't, which I was devastated because I'm all about natural at this point. I wanted to go natural.
Take you so many times because, again, like if we didn't have modern medicine that allows you to have a C-section, neither of you guys would have made it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So I had the C-section. I asked my doctor for a natural C-section, a gentle one, so I could actually watch her coming out. They put a clear screen over me. I have pictures that still give me chills because you can see them lifting her up out of my womb. It was a sacred moment. That's what I call it. And I was working out after a month, but I was careful with my body, and I healed it, and I implemented everything that I did, and I did not have postpartum depression. And truthfully now, years past my 3 heart surgeries, years past high school, years past all of this, having 2 babies, husband being deployed over in the Middle East. Don't get me wrong, life stinks sometimes, but overall, I am the healthiest, knock on wood. I am the healthiest and feeling the best that I've ever felt before. And I strongly believe it's a combination of what I have implemented, the hormones, the going back to to the Lord and him helping me and in my relationships with others and just feeling like I'm doing what I am called to do.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, is the very long version of how did you get into what you did?
Wow. Wow. What an amazing testimony. And like, yeah, that makes sense. It wasn't from an undergraduate degree in theology to a Master of Science in when it is a Master of Science in functional
Functional nutrition with
nutrition,
my
right?
research in hormones, yes.
It's like, now that you put it that way, no, it's not very different because we're called to be good stewards, right? So we're called to be good stewards, and that means like taking good care of our bodies, of our home, of our children, of our money. If you're sitting there and just neglecting your body completely, you're not being a good steward of your body at all. So that is amazing. I want to go back a little bit to after Emma was born, and you mentioned that they wanted to put you on birth control. Did they want to put you on antidepressants? Did you try antidepressants? What did that look like?
Yeah, so they wanted to put me on birth control. That was something that I was against.
Yeah.
I knew enough at that point that I did not want to be on birth control. I knew it messed you up more than it helps you. And so, first of all, I want to caveat this with saying if you are somebody who is listening to this who is on birth control, I am not saying that there's never a time or a place to be on birth control. I like to say that birth control is a band-aid.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're at the playground and let's say your kid falls on the playground and gets a really, really bad cut and you have nothing around, there's no bathroom around, there's no antibiotics around, there's nothing, all you have is the Band-Aid in your purse, right?
Yeah.
You're going to slap it on quickly. But when you get home, you're not just going to keep the Band-Aid on the dirty boo-boo, right? You're going to take the Band-Aid off, you're going to clean it out, you're going to rinse it out, you're going to put some antibiotics on it, and you're going antibacterial, not antibiotics, antibacterial on it, and you're going to put you're going to wrap it up appropriately, right? And that's what I say about birth control. I know some women get on birth control because they're struggling with things like PCOS and endometriosis and things like that. And sometimes you need that just to help as a Band-Aid, but the goal is not to stay on it long term.
Okay.
Because a Band-Aid is just a Band-Aid's not going to stop an entire wound bleed, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew right off the bat that I didn't want to be on birth control. And it was so funny because the OBGYN was like, well, good luck. We'll see when you're in here again. And I'm like, no. I'm going to figure this out. And whenever people tell me you can't do something, I'm like, I think about it for half a second. I'm like, yeah, maybe I can't. You're right. That stinks. Maybe I shouldn't. And I'm like, no, hell no. I'm figuring this out. We're going to do this. And the best part was that Nick was so supportive.
Good. He's amazing. We love Nick.
Yes, he is. And Matt too.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, like, there are so many men out there who would be like, heck no, you're getting on birth control. I'm not having this problem. Or heck no, I'm not eating whole wheat flour or almond flour. Or heck no, I'm eating my fried Chick-fil-A sandwich every day. Like, there's so many. And he's just been so supportive with all of it that I have to give him huge credit, because if it weren't for him, I would not be here.
Can we just like pause for a second and say that like fried Chick-fil-A sandwiches are amazing? We fully support them here at The Dirty, but maybe not every day.
Every day, exactly. No, like I said, I'm very scrunchy.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that word a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, your question, they wanted to put you on antidepressants. Yes, they did. And, I was so, I guess, badly depressed at the time that I said, you know what, I'll try the antidepressant, but I want the lowest dose possible. So they did. They put me on Zoloft. And it was my mission to come off of it as soon as I could.
I need to talk alone because I'm still on them, and it's something I struggle with. We'll talk about that offline.
Okay. Absolutely. So it was, like I said, it was my mission. I made sure I stayed on them for the appropriate amount of time, though. I wasn't going to just jump off of them. I was going to do it the way it was supposed to be done. And that's always what I tell people is do not just jump off your medication. Do not just cold turkey stop your birth control. Do not do any of that. You need to properly prep and plan, because otherwise you're setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was on it, and it was when I made it my mission that I wanted to come off of the Zoloft that I really started to do more research on the hormones behind the scenes on my own. And that's just kind of the person that I've always been. I've always been a research-backed person. And like I said, eventually after, I think it was about 6 months, they took I asked if I could come off of it. I said I was feeling really good. It was now summertime too. Summertime's a lot better for you. I also do have a vitamin D deficiency. So
Yeah.
for those who are struggling with mood and things like that, vitamin D plays a huge role in
Yeah.
your mood and
And
getting
it's so cheap and easy to like supplement it too. I love vitamin
it.
D. Yeah.
Yes, 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 it is. The best way, though, to supplement with vitamin D, as a little tip for people,
Yeah.
is find liquid vitamin D drops.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay. Is there a
because
brand that you like or?
I do have a couple different brands that you like,
Yeah.
but honestly, any liquid D drop.
Okay.
And the best way, if
Okay.
you really, really want a pro tip, is a vitamin D drop with Vit K.
Okay.
Because your body doesn't actually take vitamin D and use it.
Yeah.
Your body actually takes vitamin D,
Yeah.
then vitamin K synthesizes vitamin D in your body so
Okay.
that you can use it. So if you have a vitamin D deficiency and you also don't have enough vitamin K, you might be supplementing with vitamin D,
Yeah.
but your body will not synthesize and use vitamin D unless you have vitamin K, because technically vitamin D is unusable to your body until vitamin K synthesizes it.
Dang.
So a little pro tip for you
Yeah. I
guys out
mean,
there.
that made this whole thing valuable for anybody listening. It's things like that like you go down the vitamin aisle, you know, at CVS and you're like, I need vitamin D. Okay, I'll take it. I am guilty. I've got like those little gel caps. Got to get through those and I'll get some liquid with vitamin K.
Yeah. And you know what? You don't have to be guilty though, because I know a lot of people say guilty, but
Oh,
it's like you don't know what you don't know,
oh,
right? And you
totally.
can't fault yourself for not knowing something, especially when these are things that should be learned
Yeah.
in high school and college and like health classes. Okay, come on, health classes. Why do we not know more about when we're fertile as females? Why is the only thing that we are told is, here, take a condom?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I have a huge issue with we
Yeah,
both
and
do.
again, all faith aside,
Mhm.
because I all faith aside, it's just your natural body.
Yeah.
Like, so many women don't know that you can actually only get pregnant one time a month,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah. One day out of the month, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so all of that is kind of like things that we just need to know. And I don't fault any women for
Right.
not knowing this information. And that is the question that answer the answer to your question, why did you start the podcast?
Yeah.
So then once I learned all this, I wanted the podcast so that women could have this free information at their fingertips.
Yeah.
Because I am a firm believer that it is a right, not a privilege, for you to know about your body.
Right.
It is a fundamental right. And if you are saying that, okay, well, I only know something about my body if I have money to pay for doctors, if I have money to buy supplements, if I have money to take these classes, I'm sorry, then that's not a right. That turns into a privilege.
Right. And that's a whole nother conversation about like the divide between like wealth and poverty in the United States and people who are below the poverty line, like how poor their health is because processed food is cheap and doctors are expensive and good supplements are expensive. So we said we were going to talk. I mean, we're getting to, this is going to be later, but we've gotten to it. This is, you wanted to create a free resource for women to be able to learn about their bodies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that is very much so what I got into, why I got into it.
Wow.
And hopefully you guys got a few tips in there too somewhere.
That's amazing. So what changed? What did you do differently when you were pregnant and postpartum with Emma versus which is your first daughter, and when you were pregnant and postpartum with Bella? Like, what were the main changes that you think benefited you?
Okay, yes. So there are multiple, and I like to say that health is a journey. Health is not, let's just do this one thing right now, or let's do these 20 things right now. Health is a journey, and it never stops until the day that you die. And now I am doing lots and lots of different things. But if I were to say what some of the big bulk things are that I would recommend for women to do, it would be the following. It is one, to take a quality supplement. And by quality supplement, I don't mean, again, just the Nature's Made at the CVS store, because I call that expensive pee. Your body... I do.
Expensive pee. I like it. I like it.
So your body is just taking that, and it's not It's not absorbing it. It's actually only absorbing 30% of it.
Wow.
As opposed to if your body gets a vitamin that's either A, pre-methylated, or B, already in liquid or powder form.
So what does
Your body
pre-methylated mean?
Pre-methylated. So when you take vitamins, essentially your body is methylating them. It is turning them, it is breaking, as for simple layman terms, it is breaking them down
Okay.
so that your body can absorb and use them.
Okay.
Some women, however, have genes, and it turns out that it's a gene for those who tend to be very, struggle a lot with morning sickness or nausea or things like that. We're kind of going off topic. I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm actually smiling because I think I know what you're getting at, and I have a question for you. Like
Okay.
a more of a
So,
personal question. Is it the
yep.
MTHR?
Yes. And so
Rowan has it. What is it?
MTHFG.
MTHFG, because you want to know the craziest way that we found out that Rowan had it?
Mm-hmm.
So Rowan got her front teeth, one of her front teeth was broken, so she had to get it pulled. And she had to get, so Rowan is 7, and this is when she was 6. So she had to get nitrous gas. And when she got nitrous, she started throwing up violently from it. And her dentist was so amazing. Her dentist was like, listen, this is because she can't like process, like her body can't process the nitrous. She goes, what causes that is this specific gene called the MTHFR
HFG.
gene. And then my mother-in-law was like, oh, I've got that. So tell me about that gene. What does it do? And how would someone find out if they have it?
So I don't know a ton about that
Yeah.
specific gene, 'cause again, I'm not an actual
Okay.
genetic doctor, and I want to just caveat that. So what I do know about it is that it essentially means that your body has more difficulty absorbing, exactly like the dentist said, absorbing, taking vitamins, taking different things, and absorbing it into your body.
Yeah.
Another thing is that if Rowan were to get pregnant, she may be more susceptible to morning sickness because
She gets nauseous a lot. She gets a lot of more like motion sickness. Like she doesn't do well with stuff. That's so interesting.
Yes. And so that is something that I've never actually been tested. You can just be tested for
Yeah.
your gene.
Okay.
It's just, you just ask your doctor, okay, can you test me for blank gene, or
Yeah.
can you do a genetics test on me? Something like that. And it'll just come back
Yeah.
saying whether or not you have it. I've never actually been tested for it, but I am 99% certain with what I know about the health and field and wellness and things that I have that gene
Oh.
because I struggled with morning sickness for both children. And I actually lost 15 pounds in both pregnancies
Wow.
in the first trimester. And
Wow.
people who know me know that I don't have exactly 15 pounds
No,
to lose.
you're a very like petite woman.
So anyway, so first things first is find a multivitamin that is going to work for you, liquid or pre-methylated, which goes back and around, loops around to the MTHFG
Yes.
gene. The second thing that I did is it's what I call food cycling. And I created an entire food chart. And the point of this food cycling is not to be restrictive.
Okay.
It is actually meant to be freeing, that there are certain times in the month, and this is going to be helpful for people who are struggling with postpartum depression, people who struggle with depression in general, people who struggle with weight gain, or have problems shedding weight and things like that. I'm going to give you a very, very brief science lesson here, if you're okay with that.
Oh, I'll do an hour-long science lesson. You're just such a wealth of information. I want it all.
So basically, we have what we call infradian rhythm with females, and that clock is on about a 28-day clock, and it's your hormone clock. And then males have their circadian rhythm clock, and females have that too, but that's essentially a 24-hour clock. So each day, a male's hormones are going to be the same. So in the morning, actually, males are supposed to, their levels of their hormones are highest. That tends to be why they like to wake up and get things done quicker and do stuff. And sometimes females are like, honey, I just want to sleep in. Let me sleep. So that is why. Now, females, again, their hormones might be highest at one time of the month. Usually it's when you're ovulating, and lowest at other times of the month, usually just before your period.
Yeah.
So there are certain kinds of foods and certain kinds of exercises and workouts that you want to do to help support those times of the month.
Okay.
And so there are certain things, so like, for example, cruciferous vegetables during that week leading up to your period, because it's going to help it has DIM in it, and DIM really helps to lower estrogen. And a lot of women who have high estrogen levels in conjunction to progesterone in ratio to it will tend to have a lot of weight gain around their hip area, their lower abdominal area, and will tend to struggle more with depression, postpartum depression, and things like that.
That's me.
So essentially what you would want to do is there are certain vegetables and foods that you would want to eat leading up to your period. And then there are certain kinds of foods that you would want to eat when you're ovulating.
So when you
Now,
say cruciferous vegetables, you mean like a broccoli and a cauliflower? Is that
broccoli,
right?
cauliflower, cabbage, kale.
Okay.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly that. You also can eat a little more heavy. You can actually increase by about 200 calories. You can eat more warm foods. So this is maybe when you splurge a little bit, you might get some of those more heavy, yummy tasting foods. And this is why I say it's very freeing, because you can in theory eat all kinds of foods. You don't have to be on one kind of diet throughout this whole thing. When you're ovulating, your body actually uses less calories. Your hormones are up, so you don't need as much energy. And you can eat your salads, or you can do your intermittent fasting, or your light, more fresh, more springtime foods and things like that. So I created an entire, because I was thinking to myself as I was doing this, I'm like, I also need this to be easy because I am so busy with everything going on in life, even more so with Nick gone. So I created a list, cheat sheet that I put on my fridge that I give to all of my clients and all of the women who I work with. And it says, it's point blank so easy. On your period, vegetables to eat, fruit to eat, seeds to eat, meat to eat, nut butters to eat. When you're off your period, the first 2 weeks post-period, all the foods. Week leading up to your period, all the foods.
Amazing.
And I tell people, so I actually have it on my fridge right now, which I'm not going to show you because right now it is, I use it so much that there's like fingerprints all over it, and it's like wrinkles and but anyway, so, and I like to say it's freeing because it is not meant to be a food Bible. It is not meant to be like you only can eat these foods in this time of the month. But if you're struggling with certain things, it's going to really help your hormones. It's going to help to raise estrogen at times and lower estrogen at times, raise progesterone at times, lower progesterone at times, raise testosterone at times, lower testosterone at times, based upon the foods that you're eating, which is going to keep all your hormones more in rhythm with how they're supposed to be, which is going to help with postpartum depression. So that was the second thing. So the supplements, the food cycling, the exercise cycling, which if you don't know what exercise cycling is, highly recommend you go listen to my podcast. Because I talk about it all the time about what kinds of workouts you should be doing at certain times of the month. So that was probably the third thing. The fourth thing is I started taking magnesium, magnesium spray, magnesium cream, things like that. And then last but not least, I made, well, like I said, lots and lots of things. Another thing is vitamin D. I made sure I was getting outside, because here's the thing. If you go outside in the sun, I think sometimes people are too scared of the sun. While I'm saying you should go outside, not go outside and lay in the sun and burn like a lobster all the time, but it is okay to let your body feel the sun for 10 minutes without any sunscreen or hats or things like that on. Again, you don't need to stay out there for hours and hours on end doing that, because your body needs to get that vitamin D in. And vitamin D from the sun is 10 times more effective than a vitamin D supplement. And your body will synthesize it so much quicker and so much faster because it is much more available. It's in a vitamin D form that's much more available to your body to absorb with the vitamin K that I relate to do. So I made sure I got a lot more sun. I actually planned for Isabella to be born in the summer on purpose.
Oh, why is that? Oh, because you could get more
because
sun.
of vitamin D.
Right. Like, I can't imagine if you are having a baby in January. There must be like statistics somewhere, but because people deal with seasonal depression. If you have a baby in January, February, that could definitely lead to more postpartum amongst women, because you are inside. You're not getting that vitamin D. You're not getting exercise or fresh air, or any of that. I also wanted to say, what I felt called to say is, I feel like I mean, obviously being in the skincare industry, big fan of sunscreen, absolutely. But I agree completely. Like, there is a time to just go out there, and I feel like God made it. Like that feeling when you go out into the sun and you're like, I call it sometimes lizard mode, and you're just feeling the sun on your body. Like, it feels so good. God made that feel like God gave us good feelings and good reactions to things for a reason. Right?
Yes.
It feels good. You don't want to overdo it. That's why like food tastes good. That's why sex feels good.
Yes.
That's why sun feels good, because they are good for us. We just have to do them in moderation.
Exactly. In moderation. Too much of a good thing is
Yeah.
never a good thing. And I'm completely in agreement too. Do not get me wrong. When I'm going to the beach or if I know I'm going to be spending an entire day outside,
Yeah.
I will put my hat on or I will grab my sunglasses or I will get like a tinted sunscreen
Mhm.
or things like that. And always put that on. So don't get me wrong. I'm not against that at all. But sometimes you need to just be good and be free and let your skin absorb it
I
all.
agree.
Um, and then I gave myself grace to just relax after I had Isabella. So I think with Emma, I had this feeling where I really felt like I needed to jump back into my
Yeah.
life and get my body back, which I hate that saying, get my body back.
Yeah.
And with Isabella, I just gave myself grace to heal. And I asked for help a little bit more, which is something that's very, very hard for me to do. I'm very
Yeah.
hard to ask for help. Just even right now with Nick deployed, I have a hard time asking
Yes.
people for help.
Yeah.
Um, but I gave myself that grace to try and heal and take that time because that healing time is very, very important. In
Yeah.
places like Europe and all over the place, they have so much longer
Yeah.
postpartum time periods and healing, and you're not really supposed the women aren't really supposed to do much in those first couple of weeks. And it's not to be like, oh, stereotype women, you
Yeah.
stay in the kitchen. No, it's purely because you need to heal.
Yeah.
So those are the main things that I did. Again, there's lots and lots of other little things that I'm not going to go on to, but if I were to tell people, it would be a proper supplement, magnesium spray of some kind,
Yeah.
food cycling, exercise cycling, giving your body grace and
Yeah.
time to heal and getting that sunshine in.
Wow. I was listening, it was a TikTok. I should have sent it to you, but this woman
Mhm.
who is an American, she was living, I think, in South Korea, I believe, and
Mhm.
she had just had a baby, and they said there's literally like this month that they have to stay home. And they have like this woman that comes in, I guess it's through health insurance or whatever, who
Mhm.
will cook, they'll clean, they'll give them like massages, and they give them like really nutrient rich foods, like
Mhm.
lots of like broths and soups and
Mhm.
fish and just so many good things. And she was even getting frustrated. She's like, it's week 3 and I can't even go on a walk. I can't go on walk till week 4, which I mean, there might be different, thoughts
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
But then she's like, I finally got to go on a walk. And yeah, I'm guilty. I am guilty that on like a week after, I'm like, let's go furniture shopping. Let's get our life back
Mhm.
together.
Mhm.
Let's,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I would hope that I'm pretty sure we're done with kids, but I would love to do it. I would have loved to have done it differently. I think any woman who is listening to this, who is of childbearing age, I think you should definitely follow Dominique, listen to her podcast. I think it could completely change your entire pregnancy and postpartum journey. Yeah.
Mhm.
And like so it's amazing. You basically like again did a 180 from
Mhm.
after Emma to after Bella. And how old is
Mhm.
Bella now?
So Bella is going to be 2,
Okay.
very, very soon. So June, she'll be
Yeah.
2. So about a month and a half.
Wow. So it is
Um,
fairly recent, like in your life, that last personal experiment that you
yes.
did on yourself. And don't they say that your postpartum period is actually 1 year?
Actually, your postpartum period is up to 3+ years, 3 to
What?
5 years. Yes.
Why?
If you never healed,
Right.
it takes that long for your body to try and reset and get back to where it needs to be.
Wow.
So technically they say that your postpartum hormones, if you were somebody who never healed, so to speak, who never took things to do, your hormones are still going to be off balance up to 3 post years after. And
Wow.
I am actually someone who's going to go and take that a step further just from my own research and things and working with clients myself and say that if you never healed postpartum, you are always postpartum.
Wow.
And the reason why I say that is because, again, I'm going to give another analogy. I love working with
Yeah.
analogies. Is let's say you broke your leg, right?
Yeah.
And you said, okay, you know what? It's fine. I'm not going to cast it. I'm not going to do physical therapy. I'm just going to it's going to heal on its own eventually. Yes, you are right. Eventually your leg will not be broken anymore after years
Yeah.
of letting it go back to where it's supposed to be. But is that leg going to be perfectly straight or is it going to be bent?
Right.
Is that leg going to be able to run and sprint or is it going to hurt you all the time
Yeah.
because you didn't take the proper steps to heal it? And so that's the way I like to explain it with the women's body, whether that's hormones or with that diastasis recti, the
Yeah.
DR, which is down there, which a lot of the women I like to call it the mom pooch.
Yeah.
is because, let's say, yes, eventually it'll sort of go back to normal. It will heal. You're not going to be totally postpartum, but is it going to be how it was if you didn't take the necessary steps to get it back to where it should be?
Wow.
No, it's not.
So it's more than the 6 weeks that America gives us, is what you're
Oh my
saying.
gosh, yes. That is one of my biggest pet peeves is how little amount of time is put towards being a mom. And
Yeah.
another pet peeve that I have, by the way, this is totally completely different. Another pet peeve that I have is when moms are stay-at-home moms
Yeah.
and they say, I don't work.
Oh, no.
Just stop right now.
No.
Just stop right now.
Mm-mm.
Full-time job right
Full-time
there. So
job.
anyway,
I
two little
love
things.
like watching TikToks or Reels where they actually like price out what they're doing.
Yes.
They're like private tutor, chef, house cleaner, you know, all of the things.
Yep.
It's a lot of money. Like that is a very noble job to have. Man, that's so true. So you coach women. What is, from your private clients, what is, besides the pregnancy and postpartum, what is one of the main, what is another thing that you see a lot?
Yes, I tend to have a lot of women who come to me who have struggled with PCOS and
Yeah.
endometriosis.
Mm-hmm.
So PCOS and endometriosis is probably the biggest one.
So
That
can
they're
you
struggling
explain
with.
what those two things are in case
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. So PCOS, essentially, it's polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Mhm.
and it tends to be when you have a lot of cysts growing on your ovaries. A lot of women don't even realize that they have PCOS. They might experience things like heavy bleeding, extremely irregular periods, possibly weight gain, possibly they might find that they are having facial hair and things like that on them. They might be struggling with migraines, headaches, things like that. That tends to be polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS.
Yeah.
You basically, if you've never been diagnosed with PCOS, if you're someone who struggles with major PMS symptoms, you probably could be a candidate for PCOS.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Endometriosis is basically it's a little bit more severe.
Yeah.
And a lot of women who have endometriosis tend to go to their doctors and ask for help, and their doctors tend to prescribe them a hysterectomy, which is really sad because these women want to have babies,
Yeah.
and I just wish more women knew that there is a more natural way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying a natural way will work for everybody, because sometimes it's so severe that yes, you have to just take out what you have to take out.
Yeah.
But if you are somebody right now who is struggling with endometriosis, don't just jump to a hysterectomy. Try to find those natural solutions, those natural methods, because I can coach you through them. I can help you through them. I had a client actually who had breast cancer and had a double mastectomy and one of her ovaries out. And the doctors told her, I don't know if you're going to get pregnant. We'll see. And she came to me and she had her first baby successfully last summer.
Wow.
So you're
making babies happen.
I don't know about that. I wasn't the one who actually did anything. But the point of that story, though, is to say that don't always just jump to medicine. Yes, medicine there is a time, there is a place, and there is a purpose for it. And of course, sometimes that is the only solution. But try not to jump to that to be the only solution ever. There might be another solution first, or there might even be maybe medicine and natural methods.
Yeah.
So I don't like to say one or the other. I don't like to say this or this. I like to say both and.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, one thing that we both have said that we struggle with together, not together, but both of us, is migraines. How do you see that present in women? And what are some things that women who are listening, who are struggling with migraines, can do to perhaps lessen their symptoms?
Yeah. So again, I could be going on and talking about this over and over and over again. I actually did 3 different episodes on my podcast on migraines that if you want to get more in
listen
depth
to that. Yeah.
Yes, definitely go listen to that if you want more in depth. But a very, very, very brief overview is a lot of time migraines are triggered. You have what you call triggers, and you have multiple different triggers that go on. For some, it's food, environment, hormones, it could be a bodily function that's going on inside of you. I hate to jump to conclusions, but there really could be, something even bigger going on inside of you. But most of the time, women who come to me and women who struggle with migraines, it tends to be just your basic triggers, food, environment, hormones.
Yeah.
And when you try to figure out what those food, environment triggers are, and that's a lot easier. So a lot of times when people come to coach with me, I give them migraine journals and I have them track what they're eating and the products they're using. And we go through one at a time, trying to figure out what that trigger is. And then there's the hormone piece. And a lot of times I have women get their hormones tested. It's not required when you work with me, but I do ask them to get their hormones tested. And then they can come back and I can look at where their hormones are lying. And a lot of times, based upon where their hormones are lying, will be a telltale sign of whether or not they're going to be a migraine, someone who struggles with migraines.
Really?
And then I will take, will take those lab tests and lab results. And I will say, okay, based upon, I'm just going to make something up right now, but based upon your estrogen being too high and your cortisol levels being too high, your adrenal gland is under major massive fatigue. Let's do XYZ steps with nutrition and supplementation and some herbals.
Yeah.
And see if we can bring those hormones back to level. And you should notice a difference in your migraines, because a lot of the times migraines are hormone stimulated.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah, that PMS headache, right?
Yes,
that a lot of us get. And if you're a migraine sufferer, you know that can move into a migraine. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's something that I've struggled with for years. You've struggled with for years. I have not completely eliminated them, but going from somebody who was getting them 5 to 6 times a week. And when I say debilitating, I was getting the aura, I was getting facial palsy, I was getting paralyzed from one arm all the way down. I would get slurred words.
Yeah.
They were presenting almost as mini TIAs.
Yeah.
And I was getting them 5 times a week. To now I'm only getting them a couple times a month.
Yeah.
So definitely helpful.
Amazing. What are your migraine triggers? I'm just curious. I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
Okay. Share the juicy. Yeah. So mine tend to be lack of sleep, too much stress. That's almost everybody.
Yeah, same.
Bright lights.
See, the light doesn't get me. Caffeine.
Okay. So
you can't have caffeine, right?
I cannot have any
caffeine. I keep offering you coffee. Whenever
I know. I cannot have any caffeine. So any caffeine, so no chocolate, no caffeinated teas, no coffees, no anything, no sodas, and processed sugars.
Yeah.
And cheeses.
The dang hard cheeses, right? The aged cheeses. Okay.
Yes.
So sleep, lack of sleep, stress. I mean, I agree. The hormones, like right before my period, barometric pressure changes. Like if the barometric pressure goes down really deep, like that can get me. So what that means, if people don't understand, like if there's a storm brewing, or if you're living in a place where there's like a really bad storm, or if I'm flying as well, I get like these, have you ever seen them? They're like these little screw in earplugs, and they have they do have a hole in them. So it allows the pressure in the plane, like not to affect you as quickly. So it kind of slows down the barometric pressure changes in your head. Gluten for me, we've talked about this.
Yep.
And then, why can I like not say it? Aspartame. So like
aspartame.
A Diet Coke, a Diet Pepsi, that'll do it for me as well. Those are garbage anyway, so let's not drink those.
No.
But yeah, those are my triggers. So it's funny. Yeah, a lot of people have very overlapping triggers.
Yes. And one trigger might not set you off. Sometimes it's a couple of triggers in conjunction.
And fragrances, like really strong fake fragrances. So the other day, I didn't sleep well. With Matt being away, it was just like a stressful day with my girls. And then I had a little bit of gluten over Easter because my mom makes this soup that has the gluten. I'm like, I'll just try a little bit. And I was okay. But then my girls, I think it was at like a baby shower or something. They had won like a Bath and Body Works perfume. I should have honestly thrown it away. But they had friends over and they started spraying it throughout the whole house. And I was in like full blown meds are not working migraine with about 20 minutes. And I was just like, it was all the triggers on top of each other.
Yeah. Which is never fun.
No.
The fragrances is huge for me too. I forgot to mention that one. So I love candles. Love them. But I get all soy wax blend candles
Yep.
with essential oils now.
Yeah.
Love them.
Absolutely.
So.
Makes such a huge difference.
Mhm.
I mean, we could talk for hours.
Oh
There
yeah.
are so many
But our listeners
subjects.
probably don't want to hear this for hours.
I mean, maybe in the future.
Maybe.
But you are so helpful. You are so amazing. I mean, I feel like anybody who's listened to this has already gotten a wealth of information. First, I want to just ask you to share one thing.
Mhm.
You have something really exciting coming up, right? So tell me a
Yes.
little bit more about that.
Oh, yes. So very excited. Okay. So, as you know, as you probably heard, I've been doing a lot of coaching services, but it's time that we bring a product to the table
Yeah.
now. So, again, speaking about all these nutrition and herbals and supplements and things that we've been doing, my husband and I are super into figuring out our own herbal blends and things like that. Something that is caffeine free, because as you know, we just talked about, I cannot have caffeine. I also am a huge proponent of a good quality product.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to say this.
Drum roll.
We are launching, yes, we are launching our own handcrafted, hand blended herbal teas this summer. And they are not just for women, they are for everybody, for every health benefit.
Yeah.
Because I want you to know that these teas, again, these teas are the best of the best. They are not just your little, like, I don't know if you notice with most tea bags, they're kind of like the bottom of the pot. They're the crumbs.
Yeah.
They're the crumbs of the plants that kind of fell off that people just sweep up and then they make into tea bags.
Yeah.
These are the pick of the plant herbs that I am using in these teas to pack a good punch for health benefits. So I have some that are good for skincare, some that are good for migraines and headaches, some that are good for anti-inflammation, some that are good for sleep, some that are good for PMS, because it wouldn't be me if I don't have one that's hormone related. So they're all amazing. I can't wait. If you want, I can show you a couple of
can you show me what you were, because we do have like if you're listening to this, we have a YouTube version of it. So we do have like a video recording. Can you show us what like absolutely blew my mind that you were showing me beforehand?
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, this one is the Feeling Good Flower Migraine Headache Relief one that I call it, and I'm just going to show it up. If you look, you can actually see the pieces of the chamomile inside there. You can see the pieces of the rosehip flowers. You can see the pieces of the lemon balm and the orange. They're not just a powder, it's a full-on tea blend. Look at how pretty that is.
It's gorgeous.
So many different colors. This one is our immunity tea blend. And again, these are all handcrafted. So I then take these, I created the blends myself. I take them and I putting them into unbleached bamboo tea bags. So super healthy. These are just in their packaging right now that they ship to me in that I ask. So I ask them to be shipped into certain amounts with certain herbal blends, and then they send them to me, and then I kind of create them all. So this one is my Chrismberry Immunity Tea. If you look again really closely, you can actually see the cranberries, the elderberries, and the pieces of currants in there. It's not just a powder. So this one is my immunity one. Again, with the currants, the rose hips, the elderberries, the cranberries, and there's the natural fruit juices. They're soaked in, the herbs are actually soaked into the natural fruit juices and dried out. So it really punches the flavor in there. So many different ones. An anti-inflammatory one, last one that I'll show you really fast. So this one is my caffeine-free chai anti-inflammatory one. And if you look, you can see the pieces right there of the cloves and the ginger. They're all just right in there. This is the pick of the pick teas. This is not the bottom of the barrel, scrape off whatever you want. I want to get you guys the best teas that are going to give you the best health benefits, because I know that's what I would want. So why not give it to you? So that is launching this summer. And I'm so excited to share you guys. So thanks for asking me about that.
I can't wait to try it. They sound amazing. They sound like, I cannot wait. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your knowledge and so much of yourself. And thank you for being so vulnerable with your story as well. I know that's going to help so many women. So for our listeners and watchers, can you tell them where they can find you?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me at hormonehealing.org.
Mhm.
So I have my own whole website. So that's one word, hormonehealing.org, as well as on Instagram at women's_holistic_living, because holistic is not just about crunchy living.
Yep.
Holistic's actually about whole body living. Holistic just means whole. So I always like to preach about whole body wellness, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, familial, all of it. So
Yeah.
women's_holistic_living. And keep your eyes out for those teas, because I'm going to be at farmers markets. I already have farmers markets lined up that are going to be going to. So yes, can't wait. Thank you, Paula. I always love talking to you.
I
We
love
could
talking to
talk
you
for
too.
hours.
Yeah, we really could. You've been just such, and it's funny because like we've only really known each other for 3 or 4 months.
Since our husband, yeah, I was saying,
Yeah,
it was like,
since
I think it was in December,
yeah,
really.
when we started chatting, and I just feel like
Yeah.
you are such a sister. Like God has put you in my life in such a beautiful way, like not in such a multifaceted way, which is really
Mhm.
cool. Like as a friend that has girls that are around the same age, the two girl. If you're a mom, you know that you kind
Mhm.
of like click with people that have the kids like
The
in the
girl
same
moms.
seasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. As a sister in Christ, like we have prayed together, like we have prayed
Mhm.
over each other, we have prayed over our husbands together. Someone who's walking through this such an insane, unique season of our husbands being away. Like God has placed you in my life, and as a woman of knowledge who's in the same industry as me, who can
Mhm.
give me and my community such amazing knowledge. Like there is no way you can deny that. Like God has not intentionally placed you in my life, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful.
Oh, right back at you.
Thank you
Really.
so
I'm
much.
Yes,
I, I
absolutely.
I'm so blessed by you, and thank you for being on the dirty.
Of course, it was my pleasure. It was my honor to be
Yeah.
on the dirty with you.